Welcome to Life by Design for Chiropractors, episode 114.
Welcome to Life by Design, the podcast for chiropractors. Here's your host, Dr. Jamie Richards.
Welcome to Life by Design for Chiropractors. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Richards. On today's episode, we bring on a guest to talk about some of the challenges they've had in practice, and we use today's call or a training call as the podcast. We thought it would be a great opportunity, and there's other great podcasts that do this. Dean Jackson comes to mind, and Trent Hippard, one of our Life by Design elite offices, working through some of his marketing strategy, came across a couple hiccups, and we thought, hey, this would be a great opportunity for people to hear what goes on in some of our training calls and for you to get great marketing advice and really understand a bit of what happens behind the scenes in a great marketing strategy. So I think you'll really enjoy today's episode. If you haven't been to training camp, please check it out. Life by Design Training Camp is a wonderful hands-on, highly integrative, community-based experience from A to Z. If you want to learn how to build a retention-based practice and you want to do it live and you want to do it with a small group of doctors, this is a great opportunity. So the next camp is September. We're at 8 out of 15 spots taken up, so we'd love for you to jump in and be part of the crew. I know that without question, of all the things that happen here at Life by Design, as much as the retention-based course and the one-on-one work that we do, there's nothing more immersive than training camp. So we'd love to see you here, and we'd love for you to have that experience with us. Enjoy today's episode of Life by Design for Chiropractors. Hey, Trent, welcome to Life by Design for Chiropractors.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So for those people listening in, I'm going to let you introduce yourself here in a second, Trent. Trent is one of our elite doctors, been through the retention-based practice course, and he's in our elite program now. And we've been chatting about recently back and forth about some marketing, and I thought, what a great opportunity for sharing with the podcast. And Trent was grateful enough to do that. And, I might have a face that only a mother can love, but, Trent's a superstar. So we thought we could put him on film and he would be totally fine with it. And he would be great at doing that. So Trent, welcome to Life by Design for Chiropractors. Tell us just a bit about yourself, your practice, maybe even for people for some context, where you were, where you are today after going through some of the retention-based practice stuff, and then where we're at right now and what the next big problem we need to solve is.
Sure. Lots of stuff to get started on that one.
Yeah. Who are you, Trent? Tell us.
Well, I'm a pretty simple person. I think my focus that I really love and get the drive to is I want to help people really create the life and health what they really want. And that's kind of a generic statement, but I myself personally have had health challenges that kind of got me to the point of how can I figure this out for myself? And then once I've kind of figured that out, I'm like, okay, can I help other people through their challenges? So my drive is really just to kind of unlock people's desires of really what they want, right? And so we have a wellness-based practice. I know that's a pretty generic term as well. Is that annoying you?
No,
okay.
Totally fine.
Okay. So we have a wellness-based practice, and I call it a bedroom community. It's about maybe 20,000 to 30,000 people, but it's really close-knit. It's an agricultural kind of driven town.
Yeah.
I practice with my wife, and so we've had our challenges of figuring out how that dichotomy works together. Mm-hmm. And then also we came from, when we met with you, with a model that was really kind of like really low fee for a lot of care. And, the whole premise behind it is if you want to make more money, you just have to see more people.
Right.
We got to a point where we're like, wow, our bodies physically can't handle this higher volume. And starting to think about, hey, can I sustain this type of volume in my 40s, 50s?
Right.
Later in my career? Probably not. So I really start to look at the numbers, and we found out we were actually, for the majority of cases, paying people come in for care.
It's true.
Instead of making a profit.
And giving them a t-shirt.
And yeah, well, giving them lots of free, lots of great value. We created it for them, but for them at the end of the day, when we transitioned into the protocols that Life by Design offers,
yes,
and when we asked and transitioned the old people into where we are now, it was really gut wrenching because you had people that faced the reality that we wanted to see on our end of, did you value this enough that you're going to continue with us?
That's right.
And a lot of the families actually decided to say, you know what, that's too much for us. We can't move forward. Mm-hmm. And they looked at it as an all or none perspective instead of let's just take something because it's going to help us and move forward.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was too, is us trying to understand that process as we went through that roller coaster of emotions over the last year of how do we handle this? How do we interact with people? How do we have this communication and dialogue of, hey, we still offer you a really great care. It's just, it's going to be more of an equal exchange, making, profit as a viable business instead of not being a viable business.
That's right. Well, and it's scary too, right? I mean, we deal with enough new doctors who've been in that place. I've been in that place before, and it is scary. But here we are, fast forward. I know today we're going to focus on marketing and generating new leads into an actual retention-based system that works now, which is important. And I mean, you guys had reasonable retention before; that was fine. But again, it was the acquisition and the revenue that you were generating from the number of clients you had was ridiculous. And as you said, it was, it was just not sustainable and it wasn't enjoyable. I remember when we first met, there was definitely frustrations and irritations. And I don't want people listening to think, oh my goodness, that's me. But if I go down this path or make this transition, everybody's going to leave. The reality is you did have lots of people not continue, but that's a reality that's worth facing, right? They didn't value the care. And this is not, to feel bad about yourself, but it's an acknowledgement of, okay, that system doesn't work. But here we are, fast forward 12 months. I'm pretty sure based on your last set of statistics, your volume has changed drastically, but your revenues and your profits are the same or more.
Correct. Yeah. And it's so mentally, as a business owner and as somebody who cares about their practice and people, you're attracting the right type of people that you want to keep. They want to be there and they're going to pay you for that.
Right.
And overall, it's just relieving not only in the business financial standpoint, but also relationally, especially with my wife and I in our marriage, because there's always a conflict of, are we doing our best? Are we, collecting and providing for the lifestyle that we want? And is this going to be sustainable moving forward? And if it's not, how come this isn't working anymore? And what do we need to do besides people and lower our prices or whatever?
Right. Well, and you think about how painful that is too. And I mean, it takes its toll, as you said, on personal relationships. And it just goes to show you that when things are negatively affected in our businesses, they affect all the aspects of our life. And the same is true when we get our business right. It has a huge dramatic effect on your life. I look at where you guys are today and your relationship is different. The way you and I interact and Amy interacts so different. Less stress when we do our trainings or when, we're having our when you're at our live events. Like, it's just, you guys are in a very different place. And that puts us now. Actually, let me ask you one more question, just because I think people listening, there's probably lots of people who are where you were. What, if you were to I guess, wrap it up, what's the feeling you get today about your practice and your business? Like, how does it make you feel when you look back 12 months ago to today? What's the emotion that you have?
I think the biggest word that comes to mind is relief. I don't have to worry about a lot of the small and nitpicky things that came with, having your service at a very low price, affordable, because you're like, oh, it's for everybody. And I think the biggest mindset change for me, I can't speak for my wife, but, and I think this is a big contribution to you and part of this process was, the mission on change the world with chiropractors.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is I think we all have goodness and we want to help people. But the thing is, let's be honest, you have to grasp that reality that you're not going to change the world per se, but you are going to change the world in a small community.
That's right.
So I think taking that focus away and then also being clearly cut on what our values were, what was our bottom line, what was our self-esteem kind of like value of, hey, this is the bottom line that we would want to take for our service, and then build from there, because it only to encompass the whole feeling of like where we were 12 months ago to where we are now. I feel so much more confident, confident in our services and what we have for value. Like, it makes me feel proud even more than what we were, because we're getting an equal exchange.
Right.
We're offering people, and it'll only get better from there.
For sure. I mean, yeah. You kind of give me goosebumps there, Trent. That's great. This is why we do what we do. So I love that. Puts us in a great place for today's conversation about marketing, because I think what a lot of people do, and they do this in reverse. And not to say that there's, if your deficiency is strongly on the new patient side, you should do some marketing. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you wait 12 months into training or development to do that, but putting 20 new cases into a practice that is charging, $16 a visit and doesn't have room for people, and the experience isn't exceptional, you can see that just creates a bigger problem. So we decided to take a step back. You've gone through the retention-based training. You've essentially redeveloped your entire practice and your mindset, and you're in a very different place. That means every new person we drop into your funnel now is worth twice as much at half of the, the emotional expense that's going to cost you. And so you've got freedom to do that. So we want to talk today about marketing. So here's what I want to talk about first. What would you say currently, and so just context, really, let's be honest, you guys don't do a lot of marketing at this point.
We don't, just because we had that huge bucket to fix per se.
Yeah. And so you've been able to retain the income or elevate it, see less people just by going through that process. So in a sense, you've grown your practice, if we look at it that way, without actually doing the very specific marketing portion of it. We focused on the retention and the sales portion of it, right? So we have three portions: marketing, sales, and retention. And the conversion retention, you guys are nailing. You're doing very, very well. So now it's time. Let's put some people in here, right? And let's increase the number of people flowing through now that we've got these other blockages or subluxations corrected. So what would you say your average organic new patient numbers are? I think you said it was maybe 4, 6, somewhere like that a month.
Yeah, right now that's kind of just organically. We're not doing anything to stoke that.
Okay, so let's say 5. And then what is your conversion percentage on those 5, or we'll call it what we call in Life by Design your acceptance rate? How many of those cases are you accepting into corrective care on average?
Ooh, I'm going to say good solid, like 4 out of the 5.
Okay. And we have those numbers. They would be in your success surveillance system. But for today, we'll say 80%. And so your case average in corrective care is what? What's an average corrective care case worth?
Mine or my wife's?
Yours. Let's do yours.
Okay. So this average is going to be about 2,000.
2,000. Okay. So we've got 80%, 4 cases times 2,000. That's easy. So that's $8,000. So 2,000, right, is your average case. And we're getting out of 5 cases, we're converting. So we got 8,000. So you can think about there. So 1,600 is your average, right? Because you're converting 4 out of 5 cases. All right. Mm-hmm. So for every 5 new people you have, your average collection on that in the corrective care phase is $1,600. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So starts to give us an idea of, all right, what would we be willing to pay to get $1,600, right? And I think that this is one of the questions that a lot of people have, and it's one of the hangups that they have when they're developing their marketing strategy. So we use the Ultimate Chiropractic Marketing Blueprint, and we'll walk through that step today, and we'll put the lens on top of this. But I want to start with just this. If you say your overhead, do you know what your practice overhead is on average in terms of percentage-wise? Is it 50%, 40%, 30%?
Oh, I'll butcher it because I know Amy does these numbers, but
I'm guessing it's probably 40%.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's right around there.
Okay. So of your $1,600 then per case, right, $640 is going to the practice, and then the other $960 is going to you, quote unquote, right, as profit. And so you start to ask yourself, all right, what would I pay in order to get that? Now, you could make the case that you could pay up to, $960 technically in order to do that. And maybe a high percentage of those would stay with you, right? Like you're going to have a retention. And our practices were 80% plus, if not 90% retention beyond corrective care. So, I mean, really, their lifetime value is going to be closer to $500 to $1,000. And it could be multiple years. So, I mean, they're going to pay you, a certain amount over time. I would say, and I don't think this is the number, but just for the example, I mean, you could literally spend $960 to get a new person into your practice and still break even. Now, we're not going to spend $960 because we can do it for a lot less than that. But when you start thinking about marketing, it's that whole machine analogy that we talked about, right? And you've heard me say, if I can put $1 in and get $2, I need to find more dollars.
Yeah, right.
And so that's what we want to create in your business and in your practices. Can we come up with a reproducible machine where we can drop in the slot and pull on it, right? And it just starts to kick out. Heck, if I could put in $1 and get $1.25, wouldn't I be looking for more dollars?
Absolutely.
Right? Especially if the machine worked fairly automatically. You get the idea. So here's the process we want to think about. What would you say, from a growth perspective, the number of new cases that you would like to meet with on a monthly basis? So we know we're going to grow. What I always tell people is you're going to grow at about 2 to 3 visits per week, per month for every new cases if your conversion rate or acceptance rate's over 80%. So that means in 12 months, if you have an 80% conversion rate, if you have 10 new patients a month, as long as you haven't reached any like upper capacity issues, you should be growing at 40 to 60 visits per week, like in 12 months from now. So if you were seeing 100 visits a week and you had 10 new patients a month, in 12 months, you should be at 140 to 160 visits a week. Okay, so knowing that at 10, where would you like to be for your practice? And we've already done some of the preliminary work on this, the Dream Life Project, right? Knowing what your revenues need to be. So you probably have a general idea of how much more you want to grow to be at that sweet spot for you. How many visits per week do you need to grow to be at the sweet spot for your business?
No. So this is visits per week, right?
Yeah, let's do visits per week. And I think the context here is a lot of people, I want to see 300 visits a week. And it's like, well, why? Start with your dream life. Start with how much that life costs, and then figure out what your practice needs to pay you to have that life, which includes the life you want, the freedom you have. And then we can just reverse engineer the number of visits that need to be seen in order to generate that amount of profit.
So I'm going to say it's probably doubled where I'm at now.
Okay.
And right now, where we're averaging is about 60 a week.
Okay. And that's with COVID though.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, so where you'd like to be though, I think we've talked about this. You want to be at about 120 to 150 visits a week, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Sweet spot, work 3 days a week, collect high visits, high visit revenues, and run a streamlined, nice business and have huge profits. So that means we need to grow, let's just say 100 visits. All right. So at 10 new patients a month with 80% conversion and an 80 to 90% retention, you're going to need anywhere from, let's say 10 to, 20 on the high end to do it within 12 months. If it was a 2-year project, which is probably more reasonable, you're going to need, let's say 6 to 12 new patients a month. Now, I know a lot of people listening in, I did this program and I got 100 new patients. I'm going to say the same thing that I've said a million times. If you get 100 new patients in 100 days or 30 new patients in 30 days or 100 in a month, and you don't have 1,000 visit a week practice, you don't have a retention-based practice. The math just doesn't work. You've got a massive hole in your bucket, and the amount of work, time, and energy of processing all those people. This is the loop, right, that a lot of people end up in. And what they're trying to do is they see more people, make it up on volume, get more new people. Right. You can create the practice that you guys have, retention, high revenue, and again, 10 to 20 or 6 to 12. So let's say 6 to 20 new patients a month. at an 80% conversion, 90% retention. I mean, you're going to have the practice of your dreams with high profit and tons of freedom within a couple of years.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. So now all we got to do is say, okay, what do we have to put in place in order to generate that? And then how much do we spend in order to do it? And what are the action steps to build the process? Right. So that's what we'll do today. So you can leave the call with what the heck you need to do next. And then we'll use our next series of trainings to work through it and hold you accountable and make sure you're where you need to be. Okay. All right. Let me grab my notes here. So I want you to think about this in a series of steps. If you think about, what's called the customer journey is a way to think about it. You can also think about it as a success path. There's lots of different names for it. But ultimately, what we need is every month, we need 6 to 20 people to show up in your practice for a case review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's our reverse engineered number. We've already done the work as to what happens after that. That's where the retention-based practice stuff, the sales, the conversion, and the retention comes in. So we've already done that. So now we just got to follow the path to get that. So in order to get that, we need to figure out, okay, how many leads. So we're going to consider these 6 to 20 new cases. We're going to consider them prospects. Okay. So a prospect is people who show up in your practice for a case review. Everybody else is either nobody or they're a lead. So a lead is somebody who's raised their hand. They've either given you their name and email or phone number, or I would even say somebody who is inside of one of your programs. So for us, we have an online Facebook group, as you know. That's to me a lead. Okay. Once they show up in my practice with name, email, phone number, book, schedule, and came, they're now a prospect. So we've got to get 6 to 20 prospects. My experience is this: for every 100 leads in a pretty good system, you're going to end up with 5 prospects, right? So if I get 100 people to give me their email address, within a relatively short period of time, I should have 5 new people. Okay? And we've got to think of it like this, because I'm going to give you action steps here, and they include things that are actions, or what we call lead measures, right? So for example, you'll have a series of to-dos in your marketing program, and you're going to track things like, how many visits to my website did I get this month? How many social media engagements did we get? How many emails did I send out to my list? Right? Things that you can actually measure in terms of your to-dos. Because what most people do is they measure the 6 to 20 new people. That's not going to happen instantaneously. Right? And again, that's 6 to 20 in addition to the 4 or 5 you get organically. Okay? So the first piece is we've got to have an awareness phase, meaning people need to even know that you exist. Right? Now, we're not even today going to get into who your market is and your avatar and all those things, but that is a part of it you and I have already discussed. So now that we know that, we know who we're trying to attack and who we're trying to get our information in front of, we need awareness, right? Once we have awareness, we need some type of engagement. Once we have engagement, we need some type of lead collection. So that's what I was saying, becoming a lead. Then we need some type of lead nurturing. Okay. And then when we have lead nurturing, then we need some type of process for them to become an actual prospect or a conversion process. All right. Then they get into your practice, and then there's the whole other side of it, conversion, and then scaling them up, and then expanding them as a client, and then keeping them for a lifetime. Okay. So we're going to focus on the first few phases because you've already got the second phases done. So in terms of engagement, what do you guys do right now, if anything, to create awareness about your business?
We've done a few, it's very brief, social media ads. We do posts on our social media. We do email to our active list. I haven't done much to our lead list or inactive at all, just transition what we're doing now.
Yes.
A bunch of other stuff, but that's about it.
So essentially you're doing a little bit of a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, before we go past there, then what would you say is your biggest hesitation? Is it not knowing what to do, feeling like it's not perfect, time? Like, what is your real legitimate reason for not doing it?
The overall marketing thing.
Yeah. specifically, let's say the engagement. Why not create social media posts, multiple times a week? Why not send out more than a couple emails every week?
I got into it for a while, for like 30 days or 5-6 weeks, and then dropped off.
Gotcha.
Part of it for me right now, as I've discussed with you, is more so time frame. But again, that's only an excuse because it doesn't take too much to write up an email, the 3 different lists, or now that you can have an app where you can schedule your online social media postings. So I think it's more so just kind of scheduling it out of my day. I'm going to spend an hour or 2, do this, and it's good to go for the next week or whatever. So.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. So there's really no limitation other than just having a clear plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So engagement, that, as you said, is going to include things like social media posting, blog posts, not that you're doing this necessarily, but like podcasting, like that would be that type of stuff. Okay. Or sorry, awareness, I should have said. In terms of engagement, that's, things like, getting people to engage in your content. Paid traffic is going to be a part of this, right? And this is, I think, where people get mixed up, as they think, I'm just going to post something on social media, and then people are just magically going to show up in my practice. And that's not going to happen. So yes, you're going to create some content. We won't get into today to how to create it or what the best content is, but we'll do top level stuff just to get you rolling here. So we've got awareness, engagement, and the conversion process are all going to benefit from some paid traffic, right? So I think that's the other part, and why we started off with, how much can we spend to get a new person? How much is worth, putting into our paid traffic? You can see you can spend quite a bit and still get a good return. That's the one nice thing about chiropractic as a business, is the profit margins are really high. And, I think we're too frugal about spending on traffic because we think, well, I spent $100 and I didn't get any new people. It's like, well, yes, we can figure that out. You should be able to spend $100 and eventually get a new person. But the point is, you could spend $100 or $150 for every new person, and the examination fee alone would cover your cost. Forget about the fact that 80% are going to be accepted into practice, and then the long-term retention effects. So we've got awareness, which is going to be our social media content. Our engagement is probably going to be more of our emailing to our list, email marketing. People have already given us their emails, and then paid traffic. And then getting engagement on the posts, creating engaging content, essentially warming people up, for lack of a better word. So they start to know, like, and trust you, and they start to look at your content as something that, they would see as a potential solution to a problem that they maybe have, right? Or even part of it, awareness, is just making them aware that they could even have a problem that could be stopping them from, expressing optimal health or, living the life that they want to live. And then we get to the point where there's the conversion. And this is where you're probably doing something like a lead magnet, right? Or a direct to consultation type ad. And I know that's what we started with. And that's something that you have in the works. So let me talk about that very briefly. The reason we do that, Trent, the reason you're doing it is eventually, and that we're creating it first because it's going to run behind the scenes. When you actually start creating your consistent content, and then we run paid traffic to it, and people are actually seeing more of it and engaging with it and liking and sharing, then they maybe see your direct to consultation ad. They're going to know who you are. And that's been the success of our direct to consultation ad. If we just run a direct to consult ad and nobody knew who we were, people either aren't going to go ahead and take advantage of it, or the ad spend or the cost per acquisition is going to be really, really, really high. So this is why you need to do the other parts, right? So you can think about like retargeting in a smaller audience. We technically probably aren't going to run an actual retargeting unless we could create a big audience. That's going to take some time. But for the most part, people who are seeing your other type of content that's very goodwill based, very helpful, right? I know we talked about this, but I just did the 5 exercises you can do when you can't get to your chiropractor, right? So we put that out. I maybe spent $200 in paid traffic, and we got 50 or 60 shares and all kinds of engagements. Well, guess what? When my consultation ad is running again, when we're actually open, people are going to see that and they're going to go, oh, well, there's that guy or there's that office that was helpful. I'm ready to see a chiropractor. Oh, they're different. I'm going to follow through, hit the landing page, schedule a consultation, come in. You're going to get somebody who's more pre-qualified. So here's the point. We know we need to get 100 leads for every 5 new cases on average online. Okay? That's a good guess. So we know then that let's break it down to 1. So 20 leads per every 1 to make it simpler. So we know 1, we're willing to spend at least, I would say the examination fee is $150. So if 1 person comes in and pays the examination fee, so that means for 20 leads, I'd be willing to spend at least $7, $8 a lead. And now I don't want to spend that high because I think we can get it lower. But if I was spending $7 a lead to get an email address of someone who wanted help or saw something we were giving them as a solution, and then I had the opportunity to nurture them through an email series and ongoing emails, 1 out of those 20 people or 1 out of those $150 is probably going to come in for a case review. And there's an extremely high chance they're going to pay the full $150 fee, right? Or whatever your fee is, which is going to cover all of your ad cost. And then there's a 8 out of 10 chance that they're going to start into care at $2,000. You get the idea? So I think a good target is anything, we can start getting leads for under, $7 or $8, which there's no doubt we can. It's all just gravy. And at that point, once the machine is put in place, it's almost as if, why aren't we just putting more money in the slot? Right? So what do we need to do? So here's the to-dos that we need to plan out, and then you're going to tell me any challenges you have with putting these together. So number 1, we've talked about the direct-to-consult ad that runs behind the scenes or in some larger communities, some bigger markets, or if somebody has a big audience, they could use it as a retargeting. My experience is it's actually been cheaper leads as a cold audience. Nonetheless, that could be specific to community. So direct to consult, right now you have what portions done of that? You have the landing page done?
Yep. And then I've got to record a better main video for it.
Yes, something specific to that.
Right.
Yeah, I know you had a video you use, which is fine, but it's actually, this is a great point. You start to see that as you put these funnels together, the more specific it is to exactly what you're targeting, the better the conversions. And they all add up. There's so many layers. So for example, the ad, the headline, the copy, the creative, all of that, when it matches, and the person just clicks through, gets to the next stop, clicks through, they all deeply connect. So it's kind of like if someone was seeing your consult ad and it said, hey, don't guess, test, which is the headline we have on ours right now. Don't guess, test. Schedule a case review with a corrective chiropractor, and it's got a whole, written copy about their problem, digging into their pain points, positioning us as a solution, doing some essentially risk reversal in the copy. You have nothing to lose, all that kind of stuff. Click here. If they get to the page or they watch the video and it's that video you had, which is just very different, right, from what you're saying, there's a disconnect with them. And they go, oh, I thought this was a consultation ad, or I thought this was for me to get a consultation. I'm on to the next thing, right? Their attention span's done. It's just like you. Think about how you scroll on social media.
The less you have to use your mind, the easier you could go through the funnel.
Totally. And for you, I know we've talked about this, but when you make a decision to buy something, as long as it's easy, I like that. I have a problem. That's going to solve it. I'm going to go here. Price point's good. Click, click, click. Purchase done. But as soon as you hit a snag in there, right? What do? You
stop. You actually start to think and you're like, I'm going to wait on this.
That's exactly it. The more automated this becomes, the better you're going to convert. And now it's not as if we're just slipping it past people and, getting them in. We still want them to want to be there, and they do. But it's like anything. Once you've made the decision, you've made the purchase, quote unquote, or even just opted in, given your email, especially given your phone number, which is what we advise in the consultation ad. Once you've done that, you've essentially made the purchase. Most times people are going to follow through. So we got to make sure that the copy, the look, the brand scent, if you will, all of that matches up. So for you right now, you got the landing page done, and I looked at it and it seemed good. Right now, so you need to re-record the landing page video, and it doesn't have to be complicated, right? You've had a copy of mine, really simple.
I got the script written. I got it.
Perfect. Okay. So then just record it. When's your deadline for that?
I'm actually going to do that today or tomorrow. So
perfect. Okay. So I'll be able to follow up on Monday that you actually did it. Okay. And then you'll do it Monday. You'll have it done by Monday. You'll have the edits done. I would advise you to put subtitles.
Okay.
Right. I pretty much put subtitles on all my videos, especially anything that's ad based. People mostly watch them without without sound. So I think at this point it's worth it. There's a couple of good resources I think I've shared with you before, but Subtitle is one I use. I like that one. So Monday you'll have that done, and then we can put it up on the landing page. I just use the exact same video for the ad.
Okay.
So I don't actually complicate it. Now you could do a, very specific. So go ahead, click the button. I'll see you on the other side type thing. And then the landing page video be like, hey, it's good to see you again. Thanks for clicking, the button. And then you go into it. But I just used the same video on both for simplicity, and it converted great. So, no need to overcomplicate it. Once that's done, then we just need to write the ad. And again, there's a lot of the stuff that goes into that, and then come up with the ad creative headline, and then start to put traffic behind it. As an example, my direct to consult ad converts at about $25 a lead. Now that's different than what I was saying at the $7, right? So remember, 100 leads leads to about 5 prospects, meaning consults. This ad is a direct consult, right? So if I would spend $7 on 100 leads to get 5 new people, it'd be a $700 ad spend max to get 5 new people. This is actually, you're skipping all that. You're going right to the consultation. So at $25, I'm getting them for $25. So you can imagine it sounds like a lot more, but it's actually a lot less. Does that make sense? Right? A $7 lead out of 100 leads is a $700 spend to get 5 new people. Or I could just get 5 new people in the consult for $125. Right? Now, when you do that, though, it doesn't account for any money you've spent on awareness and engagement, like a cold traffic stuff that's just running, that's not necessarily collecting an email. So you have to consider that as well. So that once that's done, that's in place. Then the next thing we'll do is come up with a frequency that you can create some goodwill content. What do you feel like you can do in terms of, posting some goodwill content? Now, I don't actually think that it needs to be daily content per se. Now, a lot of people will put daily content on Instagram. They'll get stuff on Facebook every day. I don't. I actually post 1 to 2 videos a week, and then I put some money behind them. So I go the other way. I'd rather just spend my money and not spend my time posting a bunch of organic stuff. But I think the easiest way to start is, what are you willing to do in terms of content creation?
I think it's easiest for right now. My schedule is I got 2 days that I definitely could devote to do that for sure.
Okay. We won't need 2 days, especially if we think, all right, well, how much am I going to create? Back to this idea of content creation, the simplest way is to plan it. So let's say Fridays, you plan the content for the next week.
Yeah.
And then Mondays, you record it, or whatever your days are. But it's best to record multiple things at the same time. So you only have 1 recording session a week. Right? So if I'm going to do 3 videos, let's say I've got a video I need to make for an ad, and I've got, 2 content videos. I've planned them all. If I have a podcast, I do them all back to back to back to back to back. Content creation. Then I might edit them, prep them, and go ahead and do that. And then I'll write the follow-up emails.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say for you, what if you created 2 Goodwill videos a week?
Good.
Right? So we got 2 videos. They don't have to be long. They don't have to be complicated. And then they're going to go on your Facebook, Instagram. And then we can look at some kind of strategy down the road of adding some paid traffic to that, to the ones that are doing the best. Okay. The only other piece you need in place is your email marketing. What are you comfortable with in terms of sending emails to your list? How often, in terms of how much time can you devote to it?
I found like when I was doing a stretch, I was doing it like almost every day. And I started to see kind of the numbers slightly go down just because.
Numbers in terms of what?
Not in terms of, I think, open rate.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Not so much of like unsubscribing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Then I thought it was easier for me if I was doing it for somewhere between 3 and 4 times a week. I got better open rates, and they stayed that way too. So
yeah. So I mean, we want engagement. I'm good with people unsubscribing and that I want people who want to open it, want to read it, want to take action. Yeah. So I think from the sounds of it, I think writing 2 to 3 emails a week sounds great. Okay. Can you write them all on the same day and schedule them? Yeah. So my advice is you record your 2 videos, you edit them, you write your 2 to 3 emails, you schedule them all in the same day, all in the same time frame, right? Mm-hmm. Hyper productive. You finish the consultation ads. Once that's done, it's running behind the scenes. And then on a future call, we can start looking at, okay, do we want to start generating leads to take advantage of the Goodwill content you're creating, right? Because your consultation ad, although it will take advantage of the Goodwill, it's only going to pluck a handful of people who are ready to book a consultation, right? Mm-hmm. That's why your lead cost on that's a lot higher. The other way is you want to actually get people to give you their email address, get engaged. So we do 2 or 3 different approaches. The one that's converting best right now is our Facebook group. So we have an engaging Facebook group. We run an ad to a landing page. They join the Facebook group. Right now we're getting leads for barely $1. Like we're getting people inside the Facebook group for $1. Mm-hmm. It's nuts. Yeah. And then we've run with a posture self-assessment tool and another survey. And those ones are running, they range from $4 to $6. So that's, something we can look at down the road in terms of, we'll pick one of those. I know Cratio uses a gift card ad where, as a thank you for following or engaging online, you get a $30 gift card to use anytime you want towards your biostructural, neurostructural examination. But then they go on his email list and they're on the leads list and they get emails multiple times a week into the nurturing phase until they're ready to become a prospect and show up in the practice. So that's how it all fits together. So here's your action steps. All right. Number 1, when we get to the spending part, know that you can spend a lot more than you probably think you can and still be on the right side of this. And that's how you scale, right? When somebody says, well, how do I take this from, 5 new patients to 10 new patients online or to 15? Well, you add more money to the slot machine and it generates more. It doesn't always convert at an equal amount as you scale up, but you get the point. Knowing your numbers gives you some freedom to know, all right, how much can I put into this and know that I'm still on the right side of this. Action steps for you are Friday, today, you're going to record that video and you're going to just do it. Record it, edit it, don't overcomplicate it. Let's get it up on the landing page with subtitles and ready to go. We can use that next week or in the future as the actual ad, and I'll help you write the ad copy, and then we can start putting some money behind it, and we'll just start to pluck off the low-hanging fruit, people who are ready to book consultations who either don't know you, but most likely have seen you in some way, shape, or form, and then they see that online and they're ready to go. While that's happening, I want you to go into your schedule, into your either recurring to-dos or where you're going to put it in your actual schedule, and you're going to create a content creation block. And I would say, probably 4 hours. Can you do that?
Yep.
Perfect. So Fridays, you're going to plan, you probably only need an hour, plan the videos, even write some notes about the emails. Monday, record the 2 videos, write the 2 or 3 emails, set them up to go so they're automated, get the videos ready to go so they're up and, distributed. And then the rest of the week, you're just checking people. You're engaging, you're doing business stuff. The whole point of this, and I don't want to say it's set it and forget it, but the whole point is that when it's in place, it's more of a monitoring situation, right? You create your content, you write your emails, and then you take care of people. And over time, we can measure things. So this is where I'll leave it. And I was saying before, what we'll start measuring is not necessarily, did we get 10 new people, but all right, our website traffic in month 1 was 1,000 unique visits. Well, in month 2 was 2,000 unique visits. Mm-hmm. Our social media engagement, we had 21 shares of our posts. Well, in month 2, we had, 72 shares of our posts. Your lead, when we get around to doing the lead generation, maybe your leads are, I got 9 new email addresses, and then the next month you got 17, right? That's growth. Because if you were to repeat that month after month after month after month, we eventually know that, okay, if I get 100 new leads, 100 new emails, my cost per acquisition is X. That's equaling X number of new cases. I'm converting on X new cases and accepting. You can start to see it all come together and know exactly how much of that lever you need to pull. And I think that becomes the issue, is it gets overwhelming because it's like full on, I need 50 new people. Now I don't need any new people. Now I need 100 new people. Whereas creating this, you have a very clear cut, all right, hey, I can peel it back a little bit this month. Last month I spent, $1,600 on ads. I'm already full. I don't need any more than a couple new people. I'm going to pull that back. So I'm going to cut back my ad spend. We're going to cut back the number of leads. We're going to reduce the number of new cases. Oh, you know what? Something happened. I got new hours. I got a new associate. We're expanding the practice. Pull the lever. I'm going to put another 1,000 into that, and we're going to generate up, and we're going to have 200 opt-ins and 10 new people and 9 conversions, and so on and so on and so on. Does that make sense?
Sense.
Does that make sense in a simplified way?
Overall, yep, better than what I had.
Right. And that's what I wanted to get today, Trent, for today's training, was to get a really good idea of how this all comes together so it's not overwhelming, right? I mean, this is a complex system, but at the end of the day, here's all you're doing. You're finishing your consult ad, which all you need to do is record the video, and then I'll show you how to make a video conversion-based ad, and we'll write the copy, and that'll be done. Done. I haven't touched mine in months, okay? You're going to create a content schedule where you twice a week or once a week, you create 2 videos and prep 2 to 3 emails. And then you're finished. And then you just repeat that cycle. Once that's in place for at least 4 weeks, then we can look at creating your first lead magnet and start to do some lead gen and acquire some, more leads into that funnel. So when you're sending out your emails, instead of sending them to 200 people, we're sending them to 300 and then 400 and then 500. And you get the idea. 6 months from now, what if you had 600 more emails in your email list? You can't tell me that a certain portion of those, 1%, 2%, 5%, aren't going to take advantage when you say, hey, when you're ready to get help, go ahead and schedule a complimentary case review with one of our corrective chiropractors. Of course. And this becomes a sustainable marketing strategy that can be essentially a lifetime process in your practice. And this doesn't even account for speaking. It doesn't account for if somebody does screenings or does external events. So again, it's got to start with, what do you want? What do you need? Figure out your numbers, reverse engineer it, come up with a plan, and then narrow it down to your exact to-dos in the next few days, in the next few weeks. So would you say you're clear on what you need to do? Clear. Okay, good. Anything else you want to add or questions you want to ask?
Can you briefly give a little bit of examples of some of the Goodwill videos?
Sure. Anything. 5 things you need to do when you can't see your chiropractor. Right? So when you create content, the easiest thing to do is over the course of so think of it as a system, always a system. The prior week in your practice, pay attention to what people are talking to you about and asking you about, write it down.
And then there's your content.
There's your content, right? Every question that gets asked is a question that could get answered, right? How to blah, 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 blah. How to do this exercise. How to create, how to create your favorite smoothie. I mean, it doesn't have to be always spine and nervous system related, although we try and focus a lot on that. But with a life by design type approach, we do incorporate other aspects that point back to us as the centerpiece to that. But I think the easiest answer is anytime somebody's asking you questions, write those questions down and formulate that into content. And remember, one question could equal many, many pieces of content. Could be a series, right? Yeah. Somebody asked you a question. I'm thinking, what did I do the other day with somebody? I can't remember. It was a series. It just turned into 5 videos. So part 1 of this, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5.
Gotcha.
Right. And then down the road, those things could go on YouTube, then get indexed there. There's lots of steps, but for now, create the 2 videos, create the 2 to 3 emails, send them out, have the right call to actions on those emails, make sure they're going to the segmented list that we talked about. So active, inactive, and leads. Okay. And then get your consult ad up and running. And then most of my attention now in marketing goes to my lead magnets and lead generation, because I know I'm capturing those emails or those names and emails. And then I'm emailing them multiple times a week with valuable content. And of course, the opportunity to come and consult with a corrective chiropractor when they're ready to get help. Rinse and repeat over and over and over and over and over and over. So we don't want to layer too many things in there. Once we get that done and you feel very confident, we can then just continue to monitor the metrics. They should all add up, and then we can tweak and optimize as we go. But for now, just get each kind of major pillar done before we start getting too far down the path.
Good.
Awesome. Trent, thanks for coming on Life by Design for Chiropractors today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And as always, guys, thank you for being a part of Life by Design for Chiropractors, the voice of reason in chiropractic.